Hello everyone, I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining me. Now today I'm doing 10 cards 1 kit using a Mega Pack from Love from Lizi. This is the Seaside Days Mega Pack. And so we're just going to jump in and get started. If you missed the unboxing, I will leave a link at the end of the video for you guys to check it out. But the pattern paper in the Mega Pack for the Seaside Days is beautiful. So we're going to make some masculine themed cards. I'm just taking a stitched rectangle die and a circle die. The stitched rectangle die will measure a panel that's 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. I'm going to cut out a circle with the gray pattern paper, and then with the polka dot I'm going to cut out a circle frame that will fit around my gray pattern paper. So these are the elements we're going to use today for card number 1. I'm actually going to take the same circle die that I used to cut out my circle and cut out a window in my panel. And then we're just going to flip this over and add some foam tape behind there and place that on my card base. Now I did cut out a strip of the stripe pattern paper, and I cut it out the same time when I cut out my circle, just so I'd have that full circle shape. I just fishtailed the end, and then using my tape runner I'll attach it to my panel. Okay, I went ahead and glued down my frame, my circle frame, and then I'm taking a piece of the silver mirror cardstock that came in the kit, and I'm going to cut out the boat wheel. And then using a piece of vellum, I need a sentiment, so I grabbed a hello die from my stash. This will cut out an outline of a hello, and then on black cardstock I'm going to cut out the sentiment that says hello. I'm just going to use my glue and attach my hello to my shadow here. This Mega Pack didn't come with any sentiments, except it did come with the Ahoy die, and I did use it a few times during my 10 cards, but I just needed more sentiments, so you'll see me bringing in a whole lot of sentiments from my stash. Now to finish off this, I grabbed a little sentiment that says a big, that way my sentiment will read a big hello. Now I'm just adding tape behind my circle, and we're going to place that right inside the window. Lovely. Just going to use my scissors and trim off the excess on the side here. And then I did take a piece of foam tape and add my ship steering wheel here. And then for a few bells and whistles, I'm going to add some of the sequins. Now these, I have to clarify this, that during my unboxing, I said that the sequin mix came in the kit. This kit does not come with a sequin mix. It is available at Lizi's shop individually. It's called the Mermaid Lagoon Sequin Mix. And I used it a few times in here, and I'll leave a link below in the description area if you're interested in that sequin mix. But it was real pretty, but it does not come with this kit. But I cut out a panel using one of my MFT blueprint sketches, sketch dies, and then also cut out 3 little circle windows in the center of that. We're going to make a shaker card. So I added a piece of acetate behind my windows, and then just doubling up on my 3M foam tape, I'm going to go around my shaker windows here. Now here's where I added some more of the sequin mix. It's such a pretty sequin mix, and I'm sorry I said that it was included in the Mega Pack, but it actually, again, isn't. But I'm going to fill up my windows, and then grab a piece of white cardstock to cover the back, and then I am going to just trim off the overhanging white cardstock. I love the pattern papers in this Mega Pack. It is, and my scissors, they're acting like they're acting like magnets. It was crazy strange, but my die was attaching to my scissors there. Now I did cut out some portholes with some of the silver mirror cardstock that came with the kit, 3 of them, and I'm going to place them in the center of each of my windows, and I think that looks really fun. Okay, now I'm going to grab my card base. My card base for this card is going to be an A2 size card base, and I guess I didn't do that yet. We're going to stamp our sentiment. I chose a sentiment that says, you're kind of a big deal. I love that sentiment. This is actually from an MFT stamp set, And then I'm going to take one of my banner dies and just cut out my sentiment. And you'll see when I added my panel to my card base, I did add some mirror cardstock to the left and right. But I'm just going to add my sentiment to the very bottom, and that finishes off card number 2. Now for card number 3, we're going to use the anchor pattern paper, and I cut out 2 panels. These panels are 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. I'm just going to trim the pattern paper at a diagonal, and then using my tape runner, I'll adhere that to my white panel that's the same exact size. Okay, now I'm taking some more of the mirror cardstock, and I wanted to cut out an anchor and then also one of the chain links. This is such a beautiful die. It's very intricate and detailed. So I thought the silver mirror cardstock would create a real pretty accent. So I'm just going to use my tape runner. Well, we're going to add a border. You can see here I cut out a strip of the knotted raised embossed pattern paper. I'm going to place that at a diagonal just using my tape runner along my panel here. And then I'll grab my card base, place my panel on top of it, and then trim off the ends of the paper that's hanging over here. Okay, now I went ahead and added my chain to my anchor, and we're going to place that to the left there. Now for my sentiment for this card, I chose another one from my stash. This is actually from a Pink and Main, I believe, stamp set. And it's so cute. I thought it went well with the anchor. It says, "Hope to see you soon." I just stamped it at a diagonal with my VersaFine ink. And then we're just going to flip this over, add some foam tape behind this entire panel. Actually, we didn't do that yet, did we? I decided to accent this panel with some more of the silver mirror cardstock. So I'm just marking where I need to trim it, and then I'm creating a matte background with the silver mirror. And then I really think that made it pop. But then I'll place that on my card base, right in the center. I love masculine cards. Sometimes they're a little bit difficult, but I really like making them. And so these 10 are going to be great to add to my stash. Okay, that was card number 3. Now we're going to move along to card number 4. Card number 4, I'm going to use the sailboat, and also the sentiment says ahoy. Now I did take the mirror cardstock and I added double-sided adhesive behind it, and then I ran it through my die cut machine. Now I did have to use a shim when I did that because of the thickness, but since the dies were so intricate and detailed, I thought if I added some double-sided sticky tape, it would help, rather than just gluing down my little boat there. But I took another piece of the wave pattern paper. This wave pattern paper is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I attached that to my card base. And then I'm taking a piece of vellum and tearing the edges just to give it a little bit of a masculine look. And then for this panel, I'm going to add some fossilized amber to create a little bit of a sunshiny background. Now this panel here is 2.5 inches by 3 3/4. And then I'm just going to place my sailboat at an angle and attach it to my panel. And the double-sided tape really helped out with that. Okay, now I'm going to add my ahoy. And then I did stamp the word friend on a piece of black cardstock, and then added some silver embossing powder to it, and then went ahead and melted that. That way it gives me a more complete sentiment. It says ahoy friend. I just popped that up and placed that underneath my ahoy. And then to give this a little bit more of an accent, I have some regular twine. I'm just going to wrap it twice around the very bottom of my panel here. And then instead of tying a bow, which I typically do, I thought, well, a knot will work just fine. So we're tied in a knot, and then I'm going to trim the tails. Now I'm going to use my tape runner and attach my panel to my vellum, and I just wanted the top corner to show. And then I am going to add foam tape behind this. I'm going to actually trim down the vellum a little bit more. The vellum that I use is from Hero Arts, and it's a super thick vellum, so it tears beautifully. But I popped it up, placed that on my card base, and that finishes off that card. Now for card number 5, got to use the rock paper, and I had a perfect sentiment for this paper, so I'm going to cut out a panel. My panel is 3.5 inches by 4 3/4, and then I am actually using an MFT word window frame die. It's going to cut out a frame and then the centerpiece. So I'm going to do it with both gray cardstock and white cardstock. I matted my rock pattern paper with a piece of gray cardstock from my stash. I popped it up with some foam tape, and that's going to go in the center of my card base. Now I'm going to grab a strip of this pattern paper. This is actually from the pattern paper with the houses on it. I just trimmed down a yellow strip, and then I'm going to use my glue and attach that to the very bottom of my card base just to bring in a little bit more of the yellow tones in those rocks. And then I'll use my glue to attach my little frame. And then I did pop up my sentiment. And so my sentiment for this card says, I'm just going to remove the backing off of it, and it says "You rock." And I thought that went so perfect with my rock background. Now I didn't like my yellow pattern paper going all the way across, so I'm going to angle it and trim it down a little bit, but when I peeled it up, some of the pattern paper peeled up with it. So I'm just taking one of my gray Copic markers and filling in the area that I picked up. For bells and whistles, I'm going to go in with some Nouveau Jewel Drops. This is Liquid Mercury. I believe came in last month's Love from Lizi card kit. But that's simple and easy card, but I think it's perfect. So that's card number 5. For card number 6, I cut out a panel. Now this panel is, I wrote it down for you, 3.5 inches. No, it's 3 inches by 5.5 inches. So it's going to fit the whole entire length of my card base. And I popped it up with foam tape. We're going to place that to the left, leaving a little bit, about 1/4 inch of the white card base showing. And then I cut out 3 circles and then 3 of the portholes. The portholes I cut out using the silver mirror cardstock. I'm going to place the portholes inside my die cut out circles. And then I just pop them up right next to my boat pattern paper. Now for my sentiment for this card. I chose one kind of fit the theme. It says "Relax, you deserve it." I just used my VersaFine ink to stamp that on some white cardstock, and I'm going to block it off and place that towards the top portion of my card base. Quick and easy card, but I think it turned out real fun. Okay, now for card number 7. We are going to do some pattern papers here. So I cut out a panel with the Starfish two-tone gray pattern paper, and I fishtailed a small banner. I'm going to go ahead and attach this pattern paper to my card base right in the center. Now using my glue, if I can get it straight, I always seem to get it crooked. I'm going to attach the word "Ahoy." And then I'm going to take the circle that I die cut out with the fishes and tuck that right underneath the end of my "Ahoy." Just using my tape runner, I'll adhere that down. Lovely. Okay, now I added foam tape behind my banner, and I did trim it down a little bit more. It was a little too long. But using my anti-static pattern tool, I went underneath the "Ahoy," and I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says "There" using my Versamark ink, and then I heat embossed it with some silver embossing powder. So my sentiment will read "Hello there" or "Ahoy there." I'm just going to attach my fishtail banner towards the bottom, and again, this was the crooked card. I just couldn't get anything straight on this card. But we got it down there, and then I'm going to pop up my captain's hat that I cut out with a silver mirror embossing, or a silver mirror cardstock. And I place that inside the circle. And then I'm going to use some of these star gems. These are actually from, I believe, a January Love from Lizi kit. I'm just going to add a few stars around my little scene, and that finishes off card number 7. Okay, for card number 8, we got to use the lighthouse. I think it was so pretty. So I chose the lighthouse pattern paper. Now this panel is actually 4 inches by 5 1/4, so it's going to leave me a little bit of a white border on my card base. I just attached that, and then I did cut out an oval piece of vellum that was slightly larger than the oval that I cut out with white cardstock. Now just using the ink that's on my blending tool, I added some little bit of yellow up there. I wanted my lighthouse to have a little bit of a light halo behind it. And then for the bottom, to ground it, I decided to go in with some vintage photo. Both of these are Distress Oxide inks. Okay, now to go around the edges, I believe this is my peacock feather blending tool. I didn't add any extra color, I just used what was on my blending tool. But I went around the edges of that. Now, I have some silver and white baker's twine. And since this is an oval and I knew it would slide down, you could either tape it behind it, but I chose to notch it. So I just used my crocodile and punched little notches right along my ground area. And then I doubled up my baker's twine and just tied a knot to the left there. And the notches actually hold the twine beautifully. But I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment now. I grabbed the sentiment from my stash. This time I grabbed the sentiment that says, "You light up my life." This is actually from I'm trying to think, a Neat and Tangled stamp set. But it was a stamp set that had a light bulb on it. So I thought it went perfect. Okay, now I'm going to pop up my lighthouse with some foam tape. And I'm place that on my little panel. I cut out the lighthouse again with a silver mirror cardstock. And then the silver and the baker's twine just really made it pop. I really like this. I'm going to add a piece of foam tape behind my oval, and then I'm going to add my vellum right behind it. And then we're going to add another piece of foam tape and place that in the center of our card base. Now to give it a little bit of something, had to do something with some bells and whistles. So I grabbed some gems. These are also from a previous Love from Lizi kit, but they're beautiful gold. I added one to the center of the lighthouse, where the light, I guess, would be. And then I'm taking 3 itty bitty ones and placing them on the ground area of my panel. And then that finishes off that card. Here's a close-up. Okay, now we're going to move along. Now we're going to gotta use the background panel. This is card number 9. So I'm taking my Versamark ink, inking up the beautiful background stamp set here. Now I'm taking a piece of white cardstock and going over it with my anti-static powder tool. I'm just going to place that on my background stamp and press really good, so we have a nice imprint here. Okay, now I'm going to go over my background with some clear embossing powder covering the entire area, and then just using my heat gun, I'll melt that. This gives a really nice subtle background, and I like that effect. I'm just going to, the background stamp doesn't go all the way to the edge of an A2 size card base, so I'm going to trim it down a little bit. And I actually, let's see, I trimmed it down to 3.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Okay. Now I wanted to use these little houses in this pattern paper. They have a real pretty shine to it, and I thought it would go well with my embossed background there. So I just fussy cut out the roofs and cut out a strip. And then I also cut out a strip of the blue polka dot pattern paper. We're going to add that to the left here. And then I'm going to add foam tape behind my panel. I did trim down my circle that I used with the bird pattern paper. And I'm going to place that on my embossed panel there. And then I cut out a strip of the gray pattern paper here from my stash. Added it to the bottom of my houses, and I'm just going to trim it down so it fits my background panel. And then you can see I also die cut out a gray hello using the same gray cardstock. I'm just adhering my panel down to my card base. Now again, I did pop that up with foam tape. And then my circle's going to go there, and then I'm going to use my tape runner and adhere my houses towards the bottom of my circle. Okay, I'm just going to add some glue behind my hello. This hello is a die from Technique Tuesday. And some of the sentiments actually that I use, the word sentiments were from the same stamp set. But I'm just going to adhere my hello. Flip this entire circle over, add some foam tape behind it, and place that on my card base. And that finishes off card number 9. Now for my final card today, we're going to make a pretty busy card, but I think I really like the outcome. I got to use this pattern paper. The texture on this is like canvas. It's so nice. But I'm going to cut out a panel that's going to fit my card base. It's going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then using again some more of the silver mirror cardstock, I'm going to cut out some chain links. I ended up cutting out about 6 of them. And then I'm also going to fussy cut out all the elements that have words on them on this pattern paper. So I have sea, I have sun, and I have sand. Now what I'm going to do is take some foam squares, and I'm going to place one of the chains underneath the sea that we had cut out, and then I'm going to pop up the same exact sea sentiment that we fussy cut out and place that back in its home, just to give it a little bit of dimension. I'll do the same thing. I'll attach a chain. I'm going to place it right on the sun, add a foam square, add another one there, and then using one of the suns that I fussy cut out, I'm going to place that back on top in its home. And I'm just going to repeat it to all of the sentiments that we had fussy cut out. And I'm kind of arranging my chains horizontal and vertical, just so that it flows really nice. It seems really busy, but the real life look of this is so neat. I was so happy with the way this turned out. So I'll attach my chain, attach it with a foam square, add another one, and then place my sea right on top. And I'll do that again for the next one. We're going to attach the sun. And then we have one more sea. We're going to add the chain. Something a little bit different, but I like the outcome. Now, for my sentiment, I grabbed the sentiment from an MFT stamp set. It says, "It's your day." And the nice thing is the font on my sentiment is almost the same exact font that's on this pattern paper. So I thought it'd go really good. So I stamped it with VersaFine ink on white cardstock, and I'm going to mat it with some of the silver mirror cardstock. And then we'll just add some foam tape right behind it. And then we'll pop that up right in the center of our card. There was an open area where I didn't have chains or didn't have any of my fussy cutting, so I thought that would work out perfect. Now I'm going to flip this over using my tape runner. I'm going to attach that to my A2 size card base right in the center. And that completes card number 10. So I think this is going to be great to have on hand, and I didn't add too many bells and whistles as they are kind of masculine themed. And again, I want to reiterate that the sequins didn't come with a mega pack, but you can get them individually. They're called Mermaid Lagoon sequins. But here's the look at the 10 cards that I made today. I hope this gives you some ideas and inspiration or some card layouts on how to make some masculine cards. This was so fun, and I really love the colors of this kit. But links will be in the description area again if you're interested. I wish you a fantastic day, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you again soon.